Hello. We're here. I don't know how many of us are here, but we're here. And oh dear. For some reason, my computer scanner program decides that every time I go live on StreamYard, it needs to come on and start scanning everything, which means I can't see you, you can't see me. It's a mess. Anyway, so we're going to let people kind of build up into our grouping today so I don't have to repeat myself. If you have any questions, you need to post them in uppercase so I can see them. It makes it ever so much easier to follow what's going on. And love and light to everybody. Did you feel kind of a shift on the 4th of April? It was the day before everybody started walking, which was already a boost to many of us. But we're I've talked to several people over the weekend, and I said somehow this weekend felt lighter, and I felt part of it was because people were getting out and expressing, what they wanted to do. But we are as Ellen says, we are running at a dangerously high fever, so some of it could be illusory. But I really felt like we can that some pressure had kind of been taken off over the weekend, and I did sit and listen to a couple of astrologers. Not trust me, I was getting so tired of the astrologers. There were some astrologers that every month when you'd pull into their next month's report, they'd be saying, "Oh my God, this is going to be the worst month we've had in forever." And after you hear that 6 or 7 times in a row, and especially when things are not looking particularly bright, it's a little hard to sit through. So if you want to see kind of a decent summary, sort of a big ad too, but it's Rick Levine and Steve Judd did a show in the last day, and they did it through the Astrology Hub, I think. And the two of them were talking, they're going to have a thing in May about some stuff, but they also brought up some things that are going on right now. And they kind of talk about when we can catch our breath. And this last week, and I thought we kind of caught our breath. That doesn't mean that weird crap's not happening out there, but most of it's not sticking. Okay, somebody's asking me for a health reading. I'll put it up there because I know who it is. I don't do those. It's your energy. It may be at this time, because I know you're working really hard, Debbie, you may need to learn how to give yourself a day off and not be so intensely in your own energy, because you can okay, yeah, I see it's energy, not health. You can tip yourself over by whirling your own energy back into yourself. That's why I'll wake up in a day and my guides will be telling me, no, today you're going to take it low and slow and easy. And I hope people will do that. But before we get into much more of Debbie, you just need to be not trying to create portals, not trying to create that stuff. Just sit there and find them. They'll find you. You don't have to create them. The universe creates them. We acknowledge them. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't go out looking to acknowledge, but it doesn't mean you can create. It's just a comment from something Debbie said yesterday. And I'll do a reading for Ness after I finish this, because we're going to go to the garden. And I already set it up. I did a reading for Where Are We Today? And for those of you who know the garden at all, you know it's divided into quadrants. It has less polarity than tarot and other divination effects. And I rolled these out, and I think the two most important stones, yesterday the stones were here and here. Today the spirit and the grounding are in water. And grounding in water right now means be aware of what's happening around you, because that's turning into long-term changes. That doesn't mean you can change them, alter them, but just be aware of them, understand them, acknowledge them, see that they're there. And your spirit is, because our transmutation is completed. I think this has something to do with the release I felt from the universe on the 4th of April. That doesn't mean there aren't more weird days coming, because we have a lot of strange planetary influences, which are, if you've never studied astrology, there's just a few words you need to learn. And, I'd go watch a simple tutorial on it and get my own chart and see where they're hitting me. But I'm feeling more universal vibes. And so what the other part of spirit, other than transmutation, is go for it. And spirit is now aligned with the ideas we're having around us. So attach into the good ideas you're having around you. If you're getting a lot of negative ideas, or if you're attaching to information and energy beyond yourself, if you're becoming too invested in news or things like that, don't go there. That's not going to be helpful to you. Now, in fire, which is, these follow the shamanic things of earth, fire, water, air, fire being our ancestors or our past. Our clarity is, we need to use ideas we've had from the past that have worked for us. We don't have to create a new idea every day. We can work with this and make this work for us. And our mind is in restate. And when the mind falls into restate, it's just, now is the time to think and review about what we're doing. It says things are turning into long-term patterns. Look at the patterns. See what you're willing to accept. See if the transmutation within you, it says transmutation complete. I don't think everybody's going to have a day when everybody goes, oh, I'm done. But some of what you've been working on is filling out. And your spirit is aligning with those ideas. And that takes a while. And when the mind is in fire, sorry, didn't mean to pitch over, guy. This is the most important little tail of this that falls into fire. It says, don't become too tied to false energies of the past. That's what I'm telling you. Don't watch legacy media. Don't watch the way things used to be. Find things that relieve your mind from the pressures of doing that, because then you're going to move yourself into new thoughts and new ways. And that's what the body's doing at Earth. It's saying, once again, physical changes are coming towards us, and we need to be ready to accept them. So that's everybody. That's not just Ness, but we're going to go to Ness and read Ness. Happy Tuesday to everybody who's writing Happy Tuesday. It is. It's a Happy Tuesday if you choose to make it a Happy Tuesday. And Ness's question is, what do you see unfolding in the spring for me? Okay. And you can read seasons on here. This is winter, spring, summer, fall. So you can, when you see a rock fall in there, that's a spring thing, Ness. And that's where we are. Ooh. We've got, oh, that's cool. I don't get stones. I don't know why, but in all the time, 3 years I've been playing with this, I don't get stones a lot in the present. And that's actually in your spring. So you've got spirit and grounding. And spirit says things are happening around you right now that are part of this season. And the grounding is telling you that your values are being purified now. So things you're working on, things you're editing, things you're rethinking through, things you're reevaluating. All those are really important to you because they're purifying what are your values in dealing with all this stuff. Now your mind is in water, which is, oh, this is what you need to be letting go of. This literally means nothing else but let go of limitations. You're holding your own self back by saying, I wonder if it's going to be this. I wonder if it's going to be that. Don't do that. That's what you need to be purifying out of your system so that you can just flow forward freely. And you've been very successful. When you tie into understanding those old energies where you felt successful, recall up that sense of energy. And it's there for you. And you have clarity in your heart, which is really strong. It's right here. When things fall over the line, I have to read both parts. For those of you who have not seen the garden before, where have you been? Wisdom comes from your own clarity of your own emotions, and clarity showing up in the past means that you and it's use the lessons you've known from the past to find your answers. So this really tells you your answers. You're being purified now. You're holding yourself back. Let go of your limitations. And I see that's how the spring's going to unfold for you, and that puts the work back on you. I'm sorry, Ness. You have to do the work, but that's how it goes. Let's see. I'm going to go question looking. I found. Okay, this is a good garden question. How can I break out of the cycle I'm in? Thank you for your guidance, Nivra. Okay. How can Nivra, what suggestions does the garden have? Where should Nivra be planning her energies to make the changes, to break out of the cycle? I presume you want to break out of this cycle. Okay. Well, you're going to have more of a breaking out in the summer than in the winter. And then fall's going to be fun for you. But you've got your grounding and go for it. And when the grounding shows up and go for it, all is aligned with you right now if you choose the right values. And you're also having your grounding in. You are now in a great position, Nivra, to change long-term patterns. That doesn't mean they're going to change tomorrow. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to go for it? And how are we going to do that? Well, I think it starts with the mental part of our alignment, which is in restate. And it's how you view it. It really is the changing of words in your own head. Of they've always treated me this way to they've treated me this way, but no more. And that means no more from inside you. They'll feel that no more, even if you don't walk up to them and say, you can't say that to me anymore, or you can't change that anymore. Or situations that might have intimidated you before, say, this is going to be incredibly successful. Work that into your mental dialogues. Your mental dialogues are part of what you need to break this cycle. The other part you have is your spirit, which is between the past and fire. And in the past, it means you're in the middle of a huge transformation. That's what it means when it's in the past. And you need to acknowledge that. And I think you are, because if you weren't acknowledging that, you wouldn't ask this question. You wouldn't think you could break. You wouldn't even know you were in a cycle. At least you know you're in a cycle. Fire for spirit. This goes back to rethinking. Thoughts from your past are clouding you from getting new and enlightening ideas. So you need to really work on rethinking. I'll tell you a story as soon as I'm finished with your reading that talks about that. Then in earth, which is where things are emerging from, clarity and a new sense of body and self is waking up for you. Physical changes are really going to come around you that are going to force these things to happen. Also, you have your body and air. And it says grounded, stay grounded. Don't get into illusory things. deal with things you can really touch and see. And your clarity is coming from you. This is a good stone. It means you're going to have many paths. And that's going to be good for you because you're going to have to consider, do I go this way or that way? I know we'd all like the clear yellow brick road telling us which way to go. Doesn't work that way all the time. But when you're going to break out, I think you're going to have huge emerging, because these are where thoughts are emerging. Huge emerging thoughts this fall, this summer. I'm sorry, this is summer for you. And then this will be in the fall. And in the fall, a whole lot of new things will be shown to you. And they'll be there and available to you. Nivra. So how do you break out of this cycle? You rethink your words, understand it's a long-term cycle. So it's your choice. Do I choose to stay where I am, or do I put it in my mind I want to go? And you have the energy in your spirit to go for it. So, okay. Story time. Story time. I'm sure you've all, I can't imagine you've been in the metaphysical community for any time at all if you haven't already heard this story. But this is the story of the Chinese peasant, and how you don't react to the situation immediately in front of you. He was a farmer and lived in a small village. And I think I always have the impression of small villages, they're a whole lot like what Agatha Christie wrote about. There are a lot of people that run around watching everybody else's business and making comments. So that's the background of this. Chinese peasant, his horse runs away. And all of his neighbors gather around and said, "Oh my God, that helped you so much in running the farm. And, no, your horse has gone away. And oh, how sad this is. And we should all mourn." And he said, "No, give it time. We need to wait." And a couple weeks later, his horse came back. And not only did it come back, but it had been up in the hills. It had made some friends, and it had brought some wild horses back with it. So all of a sudden now he had 5 horses standing in his pen at his farm. And all the neighbors came and said, "Oh, what a lucky man you are. You are so lucky. You are supremely blessed because you have all these horses now." And he goes, "We'll see. It's nice to have more horses, but yeah, I'm not going to lose my grip over it." So then his oldest son decides he's going to try to break one of the horses so it can be ridden or used in the farm. And he gets up on the horse, and the horse bucks him and throws him off, and he breaks his son's leg. Well, then the son's laid up, and he was the chief helper of the farmer on the farm. And all the neighbors came running over, as they do, saying, "Oh my God, it's so awful. Your son has a broken leg and you don't have the help you need. And how is the farm ever going to make it?" And he said, "We'll see. We just do what we can do each day and move ahead." Well, then, this is old China. The military rolls into their little village, and they announce that they're going to take every able-bodied man and put them in the military. Well, since the farmer's son has a broken leg, he can't go. So he doesn't get drafted. And so the neighbors come up and they go, "Oh, you're so blessed. Your son didn't have to go into the military and go off to the war like everybody else." And the father said, "How can I explain this to you? We have to wait and see how all of it plays out." And so I guess if I had one word for you, it's pay attention to the good things you can use, let go of the other things, don't get overly involved in them, and let the universe play itself out. That doesn't mean you shouldn't protect yourself. If someone once time said to me, what would you say if you were to read someone and it said they're going to get hit by a bus, and you saw it plain as day? Sometimes you'll see things like you see this bus just smashing right into it. What do you say? And the only obvious thing I can tell somebody who may have that, and it's only a may because it hasn't happened yet, I'd say, look both ways before you cross the street. I mean, It's not up to me to tell them to be hit or not hit by that bus. So, okay, G. Covington. I'm currently working for a small construction company. I'm beginning to think it may be a dead-end job. Am I correct? Should I start looking for a new job? Well, I think if your instincts are telling you that much, G. Covington, I kind of pay attention to what my gut's telling me, but let's see if we throw you back on the table. Okay. We'll do yes, no on G. Covington changing jobs. Moving on. Looking for a new job. Looking for a new job is going to be kind of interesting in the climate the next few months. There's a whole lot of people going to be looking for work. This is one of my new decks. I love this deck. It's an old new deck. It's a deck of cats, and it was designed by a doctor of veterinary medicine, and it's lots of fun. So. I think you should look for a new job, and I'll tell you why. It's in the cards. The place you went to, it seemed very organized, and it's not. That's what's making you crazy. You're the Queen of Cups, and it's emotionally affecting you right now. Matter of fact, right now, it's causing you a great deal of something's going on in that office. This is the Nine of Swords. So you can see the cat's hiding under the bed. I don't even want to be any part of this. And then if you go out and look, what's going to happen? I think you're going to have several different job offers come to you. But you're going to have to open yourself up to looking around. And this is the Two of Pentacles. That's the guy juggling the coins. You have to decide what's best for your own new beginnings. And of course, the best time to look for jobs when we have a job, not afterwards. And the Four, you have the Emperor. You have the skills. And you have other skills that if you were in a different environment would be being trained. So I would think the reason you sense the company's a dead-end job is because right now they're kind of being dead-end within themselves. So I hope that helps, G. It doesn't ever hurt to look. You know? I wouldn't ask the guy who owns the company, his brother or sister, if he should get a job there. Okay. If you put your question in caps, it's scrolling across the bottom of the screen, so I don't know what I can do. Makes it easier for me to find your questions. So, Carol. Carol, get a maid service. Do you know anyone who owns a maid service, or do you know someone who uses a maid service? I would bring in a maid service that I had recommendations on. My daughter used to work in housing at a university, so we have access to several different, this is in Dallas, maid services. So if I want to do that, and actually, it's weird you asked that, Carol, because I was thinking about that today. Maybe I should just do that. Should Carol? Only you've had bad experiences in the past. You have to get those out of your mind, or you're going to be inviting them back in. And you got four. You need to build a new base for yourself. Your Four of Wands and your Five of Wands and Four of Wands are out. And those are endeavors for doing things. Yeah, you're just exhausted. And you can't come to a conclusion about it. Let's see. I'm going to try with my Seven of Swords. Should Carol go through her friends group and find someone who's used a maid service successfully? You have a dark-haired woman friend who's really good with money and good with her own money. And what modifies her, she may recently have gone through this is the Nine of Pentacles. She may recently have had to move herself. And she found someone that helped her, because just cold calling maid services isn't the best idea in the world. But, and until you get a clear plan, and before I called him, I'd have a clear plan of what I want them to do, Carol. Also, that was included in those cards. Okay, this is a garden question. What spiritual gifts is the universe gifting to all of the earth, humans and animals? And don't forget the elementals, and don't forget the other thing. Okay. What spiritual gifts is coming to us from the universe? I'm going to put within the next month. I could read something. It could be 10 years from now, and Deanna at DFL would be going, she never told me, it never showed up. So we're going to put a month on this, or maybe by the end of the year. That gives us. Okay. Oh, and when I remember how I said if it touches a line, for this one I have to read this space, and this space. So you're getting a big reading. Your mind is, the mental part's working overtime. And it's how we feel physically is going to be tied to our heart and the freedom that our heart feels. So it's going to be real hard to not get downtrodden and feeling depressed. But we are going to have the ability, if we use our minds well, we're going to have the ability to bring our mental forces together into our solar plexus, which is where all action starts. The root chakra thinks it up. The sacral chakra makes it into a great idea. It's the solar plexus that has the power to spin the energy out and make the changes we want to make. So it's going to be sending us a lot of deep intuitive energy on how to move ahead. And we have clarity in the past, which, as I've said before, that means you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can start with where you are right now and move forward. Or you've already had good ideas. They were not yet ready to come forward. They'll be ready to come forward at this time. And it's also touching into the sacral chakra, which says the way you're going to find it is you're going to know it's the right thing when it harmonizes properly, when creativity harmonizes with our intention, when you're not having to push it, when you don't feel like you're having to push things. That's when you know you're in line with your spirit. And our body, again, is at fire, so we're learning from lessons of the past, and changes are coming for us. We keep getting that one. Our grounding stone, the pyrite. More is going to be brought forward, which tells me it's probably going to be in the latter part of the last part of the 6 months. The latter 3 of the 6 months is when you're going to really see and feel things and hear things and understand things. And it's going to come I can see why it's going to take 3 months, because we need to clear up some stuff from our past that we're still carrying around with us and we don't want to deal with. But our spirit, when you said what spiritual gifts, this is spiritual gifts. And an air spirit says, spirit will transform our thinking primarily. And then the very tip of spirit touches into the future. And it says, be patient. This transmutation takes time. It's not quite ready yet. So it starts from our own mind, and it starts on how we frame things and how we deal with things. And this is kind of a universal reading for everybody. It's going to seem slow. You're going to have bursts of insight, and then you're going to have to decide what you do with it. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Learn, work with, if something you say, oh, but that seems, I've had that happen. I'll say, oh, but that solution's too easy. Well, So what's wrong with easy? I mean, we don't have to struggle constantly to move ahead. So then I hope that answers your question or helps you. My friend wants to rent a storefront, putting his property as collateral. Is it going to be successful? I'm going to do cards on that because the stones in the garden will say, if this, then that. And he's not here to answer those kinds of questions. So and thank you, Sharon Sipe. She's holding up her end, keeping us safe from the villains of the internet who apparently don't find me very often. Maybe Sharon's that good at getting rid of them, but I hear readers complain about there's 2 sets getting, what they're doing getting hijacked. And I guess they don't think I'm worth hijacking, which is fine. Stay away. We don't need hijacking. Let's see, Don. I could stop right there, but I'm going to do it one more time. His judgment's not straight. There's some woman involved in this deal with him, and she's not dealing with him. This puts his home at risk. This is the 9 of Pentacles reversed. This is really putting his home at risk, and he doesn't realize how much he's done that. Does Don have kind of real strong ups and downs? I'm getting a feeling that Don's in an up now where he's going to say, oh, let's go do this. And then he's going to wake up in 3 months and say, oh my God, why the hell did I ever do that? And the reason he wants to jump at this is he had a chance before to really get involved in something and he didn't go for it. He was too worried about the past. This means he's casting off all the lessons he may have learned from the past. And that's part of what's motivating him forward. But he's got judgment upside down. I just don't think right now is much of a time to go rent anything or set up a business doing anything. But, that's just my suspicious little self saying there are times that feel like gung-ho, go ahead. It would also help if I knew what kind of business he was going to open. But I know he does not need to put his own home up. This one has money. This woman has money she's not tapping into. She just wants to see if it'll go and wants him to take all the risks. And that's never good because then the other person never works as hard as they should. Okay, Carol, I answered your question. You can find somebody. I would have a complete list of exactly what you want them to do. And if it's to clean out an inherited home, I'd really have people I trust in there with them going through your stuff and get it cleaned up. But if you have health issues, no, don't push yourself. There are ways to get this done, but you need a lot more planning. What I saw is you're just like, I'm going to hand this over to somebody and they're going to take care of it. And you're going to still need to be there. Carol. Well, I get approved for my SSDI this year. Okay. You're walking into a tough environment, Carol. It was never easy before, and I don't know what all your circumstances are. But let's see. Is Carol going to get approved for her SSDI? Look at what's on the bottom of the deck. Okay. Well, the first 2 cards are good. It was moving right along. And what I really sensed when I looked at it, I got the 5 of swords, but it was reversed. It was on the bottom of the deck. And there's a lot of fighting. You're getting caught up in other people's wars. Have you talked to someone who's maybe a pro bono legal expert who helps people with this stuff? Because what I see you're walking into, it's not you. It's people being unreasonable and not listening to you. And the Ten of Swords tells me if it's going to get done, it'll be done by October. And your problem is that with them playing with Social Security, period, the end you're on is the one they could care about least getting straight. So, and having been in the system for 10 years, actually the people at Social Security, when my husband died, they were some of the nicest people. And when I reached 65, they were the best at helping me get to where I needed to go. That's what kills me about what I see happening, them saying is going on, although they claim they gave them the headsets back so they can run their call centers. Oh, I'm glad you came, Susie. I know we all have stuff. As soon as I'm out of here, I have to go change a debit card because somebody hacked mine. Yeah. So, thank you, gaming, for my mental health. Yeah, you can do that. I do that. There's some solitaire games I really like, and they lift me out of where I am. That's a health question. I'll try. Since you got chasing cats in your name, I'll use my cat deck. But let's see. I'm going to ask the cards to tell me one idea that chasing cats can do to feel better. Well, the only card on here that's a positive is you've tried exercise and some things before, and they didn't work terribly well. As a matter of fact, they made you crater. You need to treat yourself. You need to look inside yourself and see what you want to do. You've got 2 4s on here too. You've got 3 4s. You need to be building a whole new base chasing cats. To feel better physically, you need to look at what's really hurting and why, and what have you done recently to maybe aggravate it a little bit. I follow nutritionists because I do keto, and my body lives on a pretty stringent sort of way. And one reader was saying, I would occasionally get these days, I don't feel pain, but I do feel inflammation. And we had some fronts go through, and my knees had not hurt when the weather changed since I had them replaced. That was one of the first things that happened. I remember the first time it really, really rained. And I was so used to knowing when it was going to rain that it never even occurred to me. You always know when it's going to rain because your knees hurt. I walked out into the main room of the house, which had the windows I could see outside, and it was pouring rain. And that was the kind of rain that used to make me just nuts. And I realized, oh, I really can't feel that kind of pain from my knees. So I had to learn about the real keys to inflammation. If you're going along okay chasing cats and your days are kind of coming along okay, you're feeling kind of moderately good, and then you hit a day where you just get wiped, depending on how you get wiped. But if it's inflammation, look at what you ate the day before. There may be a hidden food in there that you're just kind of allergic to or doesn't suit you, or there's so many things in foods additives now that they're finding that are really, really bad for us. And I don't know how strictly you watch your diet, but as I said to someone earlier today, I did a past life reading for, and I said, my nutritionist says, if you shouldn't buy food that's in boxes or has a plastic label stuck on it, or has any word in the description of what's in the food that's more than 6 or 7 letters long. So those are 2 places to start. But honest to God, we found out my daughter had really limited her diet. She had her lactose intolerance finally showed up in the middle of all that because she got so sensitive. So that's all I can tell you, because energetically, I think what you have comes and goes, and it's something you continue to re-expose yourself to. Is your job safe? Okay, Rebecca K. Okay, we're going to see what's going to happen with Rebecca K. Rebecca K's job safe. Until about September, you need to be looking at all the other options that are going on around you. There's someone's trying to screw with things within your company that are taking assets away, and it's hurting them. But I think by September you're going to be relieved of your fears about losing your job. And you got the Fool. You can handle it anytime you want. You're a strong character. I know it's a shock when you go, oh my God. I used to work for the airlines, and they had layoffs once a year. That was always fun. Well, so you can see them, Isabel. She says, why are my shadows all showing up and manifesting in 3D form? Thank you. First of all, shadows live in 3D form. Shadows are reflections of how our ego was built. And the ego is the part of your system that keeps God and spiritual lives out. And it plays to that. And they're coming up now because that's what's happening, is the world is shifting, and it's giving you a chance to look at them and say, no, you don't belong here, and for you to practice your own spiritual ascension. And that has to come from inside you. I can't give you the magic words, but you can go listen to some good you can go listen to some good meditations that will calm you down. And I don't know how they're manifesting in 3D form. That might be something, if you have a close friend or someone you can share that with, or find a way to share that with someone, because that's what's happening for everybody. Is crap is coming up and it's rising to our surface. And I don't think last time I talked to you guys I had this yet, and I make no money from this. This is Jeffrey's book. You can order it online. Go to ripecolor.com. It'll tell you where you can go. And what it is, if you have tarot cards or oracle cards, it's got 39 pages of questions to help you walk through shadow stuff. And I've talked to several people who've been using it, and they're really enjoying it. And some have even found, when they started work with Jeffrey's stuff, then they began to see how they could create their own questions to understand their shadow side. And one of the things I tell people about using Jeffrey's book is find someone you can talk to. Hopefully, you can, move on and get some, even when we readers see things and have things happen around us, we talk to each other and say, what do you think about this? I don't burden y'all with it, because, like, why should I follow this woman if her problems are every bit as great as mine? And trust me, in the case of this channel, that's a real possibility. But my feeling right now is what we're being plagued with is illusions. And it's got stuff to do with Saturn, Neptune, and Mercury, and Neptune and Pluto all funning around with us. And there's a lot of illusions happening around us. Anyway, this question. What's going on in my home? Orbs everywhere showing the camera in the kitchen after we go to sleep. Those are fairies, Rosa. You know, I work with elementals, and I'm grateful to see, but boy, they are crashing onto the earth. And so, and they started with the equinox in March, and I was told they would be coming through, and that they're a different kind of energy. They can be light, they can be very fun, they can enthuse you because you realize we are connected to things greater than ourselves. Elementals can also, they're like us. If you screw with them, they don't like it. But if they're coming into your house voluntarily and letting you see them, that means that you should be very happy, and that's a good time. And you guys are clearing out a lot of crap that they don't want to be around, let me tell you. Let me see, I've got Sandra. I don't want your friend to lose his property either. I would not advise him to go in the direction he's going in. But he didn't ask me, you did, so it's up to you to figure that out, how to tell him. Might I say, if he didn't call me voluntarily, don't say the lady on the YouTube said you shouldn't do that. Oh. Well, the critters are outside, and they can feel the earthly vibration changing, and they can feel that we're having more sunspots and more photonic energy and more weird energy. I mean, it's bad enough it's happening inside of each of us, but it's also happening inside of the world. The Schumann resonance is going crazy. But those are all part, you know, whenever your life has gone through change, everything felt very uncomfortable. And that's what we're being pushing out. We can feel it pushing us out and making things more difficult. Let's see what the message is from your cats. From my cat deck to your cat deck. Let's see what's happening in your strays community. It's all for the good. That's the first all yes I've gotten. There's a new Siamese mix in town. There's someone else who's feeding them. And that's changing the dynamic some ways. There's one cat who wants to run the roost. So these two are trying to figure out how to work their world out. But the sun is there, and cats like the sun, and I like the sun. This one is trying to create battles with that one. That's what the Seven of Swords is about. But it's a cat thing. They'll be fine. I just hope someone does watch them for diseases and tries to get rid of the ones that might be really sick. But there's a little old lady feeding them. Ellen, type it in bold. I didn't see it. I didn't overlook your question, and I'm not trying to avoid it. I would tell you that I can't read on that. But I can go back and look, but I'm going to see what's ahead and then come back. Yeah, Carol, you need to talk to some places that really do. I don't know how much junk's in the house, but you know, there could be some valuable junk in there, and that's why you want a good removal company, because they might find grandma's diamonds or whatever. Here's a suggestion. And in Truth in Lending, I used to run a company that wallpaper and painted and did finish out on houses. And you can find people if you look for them. And I mean, it all depends on. All I want is someone to come clean my house up because I'm tired of bending over. And okay, I'm going to go back and look for Ellen at 20 something. Ellen, it's not in here. I can't find it. If you said it's at 206, 207, there's not a question posted at that time. That happens sometimes, and I don't know why. And you talk to YouTube about it, and it's a big, complicated system, and they don't care about one question that didn't appear in my chat. So I don't even see an Ellen. So I'm sorry. There was about a half-hour period where nobody posted anything. Oh, good. Sandra's not going to tell her friend that I read him. Thank you. So, Ellen, if you type fast, I've got space. I've got nothing coming in, or things are. And hide. Okay, my business. I teach tarot. If you want to learn how to read tarot, I've got the opportunity for you. I have classes starting next week on Wednesday, 6 weeks of classes, and then 3 weeks of time after the classes that are like an hour long or more, depending on how people show up. And that's where you practice with each other. And I really don't read. I will talk to you and discuss with you how I see what your interpretations are. But you're never going to learn to read if you just watch me read. Well, I guess you could, but that's a long way from here to there. If you take the classes Jeffrey and I teach, you'll learn numerology, then you'll learn all the minor arcana. You'll learn all the royal suits of cards. You'll learn the Fool's Journey, which is when you start with the Fool at the beginning of the major arcana and go through them in numerical order. There's actually a story there. And then each week we learn a new layout to practice with. So that's going on. Please consider taking the class. I also have booked a Saturday class, but I haven't anyone showed interest in the Saturday class so far. I have 5 people in the Wednesday class. I only teach 10 people at a time because it's not fair to you, and it makes me nuts to try to take care of more people than that. So that's going on. And then the 9 Candles returns. Dun, 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 dun. April 24th. I've already booked a couple of readers. And they told me the voices that speak to me said, you got to do 9 candles again because people need something to help lighten their spirit. And this was back when I was feeling really draggy. And I was like, oh, really? Tell me something else. But anyway, they finally sent me last week notes, and I got most of them on Friday the 4th. And it's that usually if you know anything about the 9 candles, I'm going to switch to me again. Because I can't imagine just looking at my board talk to you. I'd have it started out as 9 red candles, and it was 9 green candles, it was 9 white candles, it was 9 yellow candles. And they all had a reason. When it was green candles, I found a whole set of candles that were shaped like little succulents. And we did that. And there have been times when it was signs and symbols were the candles, and I had to find signs and symbols. But anyway, this time, my I've got to pull my candle. I have one for you so I can show you. Okay, I'm going to go back to the table at the end of this and explain it. But this time they said they just need to light 9, something 9. It can be a tall pillar candle and they light it each day and then blow it out. And then at the end, they let it burn to the end. Or it could be as simple as this. You can get these 3-wick candles. And this would be day 1, day 2, day 3. You get 3 of those and light those up. And you at the dollar store around me, you can get those pretty inexpensively. And then you'd have 9 candles and you wouldn't have 9 candles floating around your desk. You can have 9 candles of any sort. They could be 9 taper candles. They could be 9 pillar candles. And what they told me was they wanted it to be about joy and light and fun and things that lighten our spirit. So on the 4th, I got on my computer and I looked for uniquely shaped candles. And I should have done this after I ate food, but I didn't. So all the candles are food shaped, mostly. Well, one's a tooth, but all the rest are food shaped. And they're all kinds of shapes. There's like a big apple. There's a blueberry pie. There's a glass of champagne. There's a martini. There's a wedge of cheese. So, and those are going to be the candles I'm going to be lighting. Each day is going to be a different weird shape, which ought to make it kind of fun to look at. And there won't be any long meditation this time. It's just we're here to open our hearts as we move from spring into summer into lightness and joy. And that's basically what it's going to be about. And you're to bring in, you can even bring a trouble you have and say, I'm dumping it in the middle of the 9 candles because I don't want to deal with it anymore. You can bring in something you want to accentuate and make yourself happier with, just whatever is important to you. And with that, what is it I personally like about Jeffrey's book? I like it because I think a lot of people want to do shadow work, but I don't think a lot of people want to do shadow work in public. And he's very insightful. It's very personal. It's very structured to where you are because you're the one asking the questions. You're the one looking at the cards. And the universe will reveal to you what it thinks you need to know. And that's what I personally like about the book. I don't do a lot of shadow. I say that, but I did a past life with Lady today. And it ended up wasn't shadow work because it's a past life where she did a great job. But there's a lot of times there's things you guys will say to me in chat, and I hear so much more than I can give you in a reading because, quite honestly, I wouldn't want 55 other people listening to my news either. I think it's just a good way if it's self-help and it's much less expensive. I've had people write me about, come do shadow work with us for 300 and something bucks for the weekend. First of all, I don't think doing anything for one day. Weekend conferences are great to teach you the vocabulary, but weekend conferences are not good for long-term learning. The best way for good long-term learning is to work with a book like Jeffrey's or any other book. I had a book when I really got serious as a grown-up about tarot. I had a card a day in each page. It had place where I could write information, what I saw in the book and everything. I still have that book. And I did that when I was in my 30s. So for me, it's self-paced. It appeals to how I learn. I think it would appeal to other people who might learn the same way I do. Yeah, Sandra, that lady's trouble that he's trying to go to business in. Okay. Hi, Dorothy Morgan. She's going to come and she's going to be the first day of the 9 candles. And I hope you all will come over and join us. And I'm going to cut this off and I'm going to end in an hour. Yay! Take care. Bye.